This is it, y'all. Sly Cooper is coming back. A name that specifically pays tribute to Sly Cooper with the intention and maybe even sole purpose of premiering this new company's status with a new Sly Cooper. Kevin Miller's in on it. This is a publicity stunt to let y'all know it's coming. There is a reboot on the table. You're never gonna fucking believe how. And I'm like, do I even want it anymore? Because of the way this is coming together. No time for anything special this morning. I didn't have time to set up the room the way I typically like it when I stream. I told the woman I woke up with this morning, you got to go as soon as we wake up because I got to break some serious news to the Sly Cooper community. I didn't even have time to put on a shirt. But then again, why put on a shirt and cover up my dedication to this franchise? Claw Gang for life. This is supposed to be a depiction of the Contessa. When we add some blue to it, it'll pop a little bit more and be a little bit more apparent. Then again, maybe we'll even rework that tattoo into a more authentic PS2 looking depiction of the Contessa. Because some people like anime, some people love comic book movies. I love Sly Cooper. That's just my preference in the category of comic book aesthetic, noir-inspired storytelling of a hero's arc. He is the coolest character, born from a trilogy of PlayStation 2 games that forever left an impression on me. So I get nerd rage passionate about this franchise. There's just nothing I can do about it. I'm such a tamed person, believe it or not, until it comes to how passionate I am about Sly Cooper. I open my mouth about Sly Cooper and instantly turn into a nut, and everybody on the internet's like, what in the fuck is wrong with this guy? I'm banned from every Sly Cooper Reddit, every Sly Cooper group chat, every Sly Cooper Discord, because I never held back at how seriously disappointed I was by Thieves in Time. I mean, it ruined an aspect of my teen years. Wait till you hear what I'm about to tell you. This is real news. I'm not here to fuck around. I'm not here to joke. I've been talking about Sly Cooper online for, 17 years? I am not here to fuck around. You are not going to believe the news we have today, so stay tuned in. But I just got to make my case real quick, man, and I just got to try to get in a bit of a meditative state to be able to do this one justice. I was telling the fellas in the group chat, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this without sounding off.
I might not be able to do this. I said I was going to try to be calm this time, but I was already thinking my next point was going to be nobody gives a fuck about how the guy gets out of Egypt anyways. But then that makes me want to say, like, just for the 18th fucking time, the motherfucker should have never wound up in Egypt anyways. Like, can you think of anything? I can't do this. I can't do it with this topic. Can you think of anything more fucking random than making Sly Cooper lost in Egypt? As if anybody would go, whoa, whoa. Now we've hit on a concept. Holy shit. Sly Cooper in Egypt.
My last Sly Cooper video was another off-the-top rant on how poorly the characters and story were handled by Sanzaru Games. In that video, I also announced that Sanzaru Games had officially closed down. Bear that in mind. It's going to be relevant in the next few minutes. In that video, there was a bit of questioning as to how Kevin Miller seemed to have lost the essence of that character when he portrayed him in Thieves in Time, and seems to be so benign to how let down so many fans felt by Thieves in Time. And Kevin Miller is passionate about this character that he played. He's also really one of the only driving forces in a bit of fan service to what's left of the Sly Cooper community online, and he enjoys that community and communication, and he still does fan signings, and without him, you have nothing left from the franchise to connect with. You know, there are so many fan communities for old movie franchises and old video game franchises where, like, a lot of the voice actors and talent died, and so they can't get any convention fan service, and they can't correspond with any of the cast and at least celebrating and honoring their favorite retro franchise. Everybody involved in Sly Cooper is still alive, and they just don't give a fuck. Not Sucker Punch, not nobody, just Kevin Miller. So you got to give him his props in that respect. It's not something he had to do to embrace having played Sly Cooper, but along with that, I explained how he's like really adverse to any level of critique or discussion, almost politician-like. And when the topic of Thieves in Time being a bit of a disappointment comes up, unlike any other franchise that had an installment that disappointed fans, because you got to remember, this is not just an opinion. When this happens, fans feel underserved and like you wasted their time and money. And most franchises have directors, producers, and talent involved that will look back at a shitty sequel and say, we really should have paid attention to what the fans wanted. Whereas Kevin Miller is more like a democratic politician that's like, you can't keep everybody happy, but the important thing is to stay positive. And that's just kind of interesting to me because there's one Sly Cooper that sucks. If you don't want to admit it sucks, we'll say there's one that there's differing opinions on. And from the perspective of Kevin Miller, it's interesting that it's like, well, let's not go there. It's like a taboo subject. And with the news I'm about to drop on you guys today, being the super passionate nerd fan of this franchise that I am, I'm going to try to keep my cool this time and just be precise in talking about the reboot. I am never one to take part in spreading false rumors online. There's a reboot on the table. yeah, there's a reboot on the table. I've never seen something so promising and legit in terms of Sly Cooper making a comeback in the past 12 years. You're hearing it first here on the Jimmy channel. Call me what you want. I'm like a weightlifting fuckboy that stopped playing video games for 10 years. I had a nervous breakdown, took a biblical vow, hid away from the world, and restarted my gaming channel. Really discovering gaming for the first time at 30. That's what my channel is all about. Hit subscribe if that is something you might find amusing. But I never had to consistently have my hands on a PlayStation 2 or PS3 for Sly Cooper to live rent-free in my fucking head. My favorite of all time. I would never bullshit you guys about this. Matter of fact, check out this parody video I did called How Sly 5 Rumors Get Started, or how they had gotten started over the past 10 years. Most legit Sly 5 video on YouTube. That's really how all these rumors got started. Definitely check that out. There is a reboot on the table. You're never gonna fucking believe how. And I'm like, do I even want it anymore? Because of the way this is coming together. And this is something that was brewing for a while. It was like the times needed to change. There's always been a treatment for a game that follows up Thieves in Time. Just sitting in a drawer somewhere. So for all these years, we could have always said Sly 5 exists. It just wasn't made. And the reps from that company always expressed the demand is simply not there and would urge the fans to like write letters to Sony if they actually want to see it, prove that we could make a dime off of this fucking thing to justify spending the money so we can justify it to Sony. Otherwise, there ain't going to be no fucking Sly Cooper. And there wasn't for the past, what, is it 12 years? Okay, what's happening now is the tide is turning. I don't know in a huge way, but at least enough where I think, despite what you might think about modern gaming, and I don't think very highly of it, PS5 is disappointing. It's like it was created just to be the latest piece of technology you gotta have, even though it's not really required because there's nothing new and interesting coming out on it, just to play the same old multiplayer shooters you could play on the PlayStation 4. Yeah, you got your Fortnite, you got your Call of Duty, you got your sports games for the casual gamers, whatever the fuck. We'll wait till the end of time for GTA 6, but Sony has never done a great job of honoring its mascots. Platforming seems to be more of a niche interest, whereas it used to seem like the driving force for every console, which had to have a mascot character that was typically a platformer. If it'll get you to buy the fucking thing, because after you've bought it, if you're a fan of platforming games, we got nothing else for you. And we don't give a fuck. Sly Cooper, Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter, Uncharted, Infamous. They were here. You played them. It's gone. Okay, we're Sony. Crash Bandicoot. We'll give you one more. All right, fuck off again for another 15 years. Sony's like, we don't really create icons. Okay, we're not Nintendo or Sega. We create themes for the era, characters that can last 10 years, and then we got to get the fuck on to the next dollar. Okay, it took 12 years, and I don't even remember when the PS5 came out. That's how little I give a fuck. But the times are starting to show that maybe platforming is coming back around a little bit. The lack of something like new, innovative, and exciting for PS5 is really revealing itself in what they're releasing and in what they're not releasing, and what gamers are feeling deprived of. That has to be the case, because I don't know why the fuck else this would be happening right the fuck now. Let's get to our first article. It's actually not even an article. This shit just gets posted in pictures with lengthy descriptions on Facebook and Instagram these days. All right, so the first thing the fellas hit me with in the group chat this week was a post from Pixel Rant. New insider reports suggest Sony may be revisiting several of its most beloved legacy franchises. Names frequently mentioned in recent discussions include Sly Cooper, Resistance, Ape Escape, MotorStorm, Legend of Dragon, and Infamous. The rumors have generated significant excitement among longtime PlayStation fans who grew up during the PS1, PS2, and PS3 eras. Many of these series helped define the platform's identity and remain highly requested by the community. Exactly. Many of these characters helped define the platform's identity. PlayStation 5 is identityless. Its identity is modern technology. That's it. You gotta have the latest technology, otherwise you're a square. Sony has not officially announced any of these projects, but even a partial revival of these franchises would represent a major moment for the PlayStation nostalgia. Yes, Sony is not good at giving people nostalgia. The entire fucking industry thrives on nostalgia. And Sony's just like, no. You know, Sony and PlayStation is for those cats that like hate to see a sequel, like film school guys that are like, another Rambo. How preposterous. So Sony's pretentious. PlayStation's pretentious. Okay, you hear this sort of shit all the time? So when the fella sent that to the group chat, I said, give me a motherfucking break. I never bought the insider thing. Oh, I'm an insider. Like, dude, what are you inside of? Okay, but here's where things heat up. A new video game development company was just created. It's called Sneaky Devils Studio. Sneaky Devil Studios is an independent video game developer based in San Mateo, California, founded by former Sanzaru Games veterans, including Matt Kramer, following Meta's closure of the studio. The name of the company is a direct nod to the Sly Cooper franchise, which the team previously worked on. Regrouping independently, the developers aim to build original new titles while maintaining deep roots in the action, adventure, and VR genres. It gets better. Or worse, depending on how you feel about it. they took to whatever the fuck platform this is. People use all sorts of different platforms these days. Is this Facebook? Nah, this ain't Facebook. This is like one of those like truth socials or some shit for nerds. Kevin Miller, voice of Sly Cooper. Amazing news. Congrats, you sneaky devils. This is Kevin Miller speaking to Sanzaru, now rebranded as Sneaky Devils. Love that devil's in the title. Keep it satanic. Matt Kramer, co-founder and chief creative of Sanzaru Games, now rebranded as Sneaky Devils, responds to Kevin Miller. Aw, gee, thanks for the kind words. We should work together again. Winky face. This is it, y'all. Sly Cooper is coming back. Sanzaru is now suddenly so hellbent on making another Sly Cooper game that after getting shut down, they reopen with a new name. A name that specifically pays tribute to Sly Cooper with the intention and maybe even sole purpose of premiering this new company's status with a new Sly Cooper. Kevin Miller's in on it. This is a publicity stunt to let y'all know it's coming. For 12 fucking years, it was like, oh, I don't know, write a letter to Sony. And suddenly they're like, nah, fuck it. So this is a confusing situation. It's hard to tell what's really going on here. You know, for the longest time, it seemed like you had a typical scenario within entertainment where the original company, much like with a film, like the original director is not going to come back for another sequel. Certainly not what should have been a legacy sequel or a throwback sequel, nostalgia sequel, which ended up just turning into this fucking time travel story. And it gets passed on to somebody who doesn't quite understand the mythology, doesn't quite understand the characters. I have a piece on that I want to get into later. Just a good example of that sort of scenario you often find in entertainment. And that's like essentially what happened with Sly Cooper. And then the Sly Cooper fans for the longest time were like, can we get another one? And Sanzaru, while still in business, as well as reps from Sony who would chime in from time to time, are just like, the interest isn't really there. There was a brief moment in time where they wanted to turn all the PlayStation 2 mascots into movies. Sly Cooper almost got a television show and a movie, which a trailer was actually made for with a release date attached to it, or at least a release year. And it got canned so quickly. If my memory serves, that was in 2014, and I don't even know what that was riding off the back of. Maybe next time we'll talk about the Crash Bandicoot movie that they want to try to make to ride off the coattails of Mario, because a Mario movie just made like $3 billion. I don't even know what the fuck was going on in 2014 that made any of these studios come in and go, oh, wait, how about a Sly Cooper? How about a Ratchet and Clank movie? How about we can make movies based on PlayStation 2? But that died quickly, and it just proved there's no money to be made with Sly Cooper. Like I said, the tide seems to be turning a little bit. Retro gaming is coming back strong, and interest in platforming video games is coming back strong. You can only make the gaming landscape so bleak for so long before gamers want nostalgia and story, just like moviegoers want nostalgia and story. Give us 5 more Rambos. Give us 5 more Star Wars. Give us another Indiana Jones. There's nothing else really going on. And you got the pretentious film school type cats that are like, sequels are beneath me. Like, beneath you just as a citizen. You know, like, you're not even like a movie producer or nothing. You're just a guy that gets up and goes to work, and you're like, Mission Impossible 8 is beneath me. But sometimes you look at what's coming out, and you're just like, well, you know, there's nothing else to be even really coming out. I was just telling a friend of mine, he is a film school cat, that they're doing Scary Movie 6, and he was like, dude, Scary Movie 6, give me a break. And I was like, well, hey, man, hold on a second. You know, you got to remember when we were growing up in the Rambo 4 and Rocky 6 and Creed and Indiana Jones 5, those are just such iconic characters that everybody could get into it. But we were living in the 30-year nostalgia for the 80s because that decade created so much iconic shit. But people my age were really living that nostalgia for characters and stories from our parents' era. Okay, if you're my age, we just got old enough to have nostalgia come back around for shit that came out when we were kids. 90s is coming back because it's the 30-year anniversary of the mid-90s. So people my age are about due for some nostalgia coming around for stuff that was out when we were 8, 9, 10, 12 years old. But in respect to Sanzaru, going to the lengths of recreating themselves, specifically with the intention of making a new Sly Cooper, I don't know what this is about. Would you say it's because for such a meek company that had titles that just weren't like phenomenally well known, that making a subpar Sly Cooper title was actually the biggest thing they've ever done, became the biggest thing they were ever known for? When you think about it, Sly Thieves in Time is probably the #1 reason so many people around the world and on the internet actually had the name of the company in their mouth so often. Sanzaru was actively working, they were actively making shit, but only one title made so many people speak the name Sanzaru all over the internet. So maybe maybe Sanzaru actually became synonymous with Sly Cooper as the biggest thing they've ever done, even though it wasn't really that great. It didn't pay tribute to the series that well. It didn't seem to understand the series that well. It didn't seem to understand the characters that well. I've never really had an appreciation for their enthusiasm for fucking up this franchise with that title, but that title is probably the reason you know what Sanzaru Games is. My next question, much like to Kevin Miller, to Sanzaru, did Thieves in Time turn out just fine? And they're thinking, let's just do it again. Or is this a redemption arc? It's been 12 years. Many fans were dissatisfied. We now live in an era of fan service legacy sequels. You see it all the time in movie franchises. It's a 9th sequel, but they're bringing back the character from the original. They're bringing back that actor from the original that you haven't seen in 30 years. He gave up acting, but they brought him back just for this sequel. Okay, we're no longer living in the era of sequels that come out 12 years after the last installment are just doing whatever the fuck they want. They're servicing the fans, sometimes poorly, but at least their stories are revisiting the original, paying tribute to the original, trying to emulate that formula, rather than saying, the gang's gonna time travel this time. Next, they're going into fucking space. Does Sanzaru want another shot to do this right, to perform better than they did on their last attempt at Sly Cooper? Or do they just want to do the same thing they did in 2013 on PS5 technology? Just whatever the fuck. We like our ideas. And respectfully, I'm not even trying to be a dick when I say, and is Kevin Miller just going to go along with whatever? I mean this sincerely. I know Kevin's seen my shit. He must think I'm such a fucking asshole, but I'm just such a passionate fan. And I'm a filmmaker, and I deal with people in the professional world. I'm just an on-screen personality. I'm an actor. I don't even know how to talk on camera without performing my sincerity. I'm always sincere, but an actor in front of the camera just has to carry his sincerity with a lot of emphasis. And this is as nerdy as I get about anything. I love this franchise. Kevin, there's no reason they can't replace you. No reason they can't go. It's been how many years? 20-something years since the original? The movie was ready to replace you. Who cares who plays Sly Cooper? Who cares what the story is? Who cares about anything? Let's just make a buck. Let's go back to the one thing we were most known for, doing a Sly Cooper title. But you know they want you involved. What an honor. I think you have some influence. I don't think you need to get in a booth and do Sly Cooper the way they tell you to. Please, if you reprise Sly Cooper, have some influence over the project this time. When you get in the booth and they want you to go, hey, Carmelita! What's wrong with, in the manner in which most actors work with directors, saying, guys, I really know this character, and I feel it's important to stay true to form. He wouldn't say that. He would say, Carmelita, I haven't seen you since I gave you the slip in Bombay. Come on, I tell directors all the time, I can't do your goofy dialogue. You gotta let me say it my way. You gotta let me speak like a person. I mean this so sincerely, I am not even trying to be a dick. What's the point of getting the gang back together just to ruin shit? Again, Sly Cooper made my childhood, fucked up my teen years, abandoned me in my 20s, and you're about to fuck up my 30s with a Thieves in Time Part 2? There's no reason to even do it. You know there's not even much money to be made. Next thing, throw Thieves in Time out the window. There was no reason to create a cliffhanger. It wasn't that interesting in the first place to say, what if Sly Cooper got lost in Egypt? God, nobody gives a fuck. I'm just being honest. I'm telling you what the fans want. They don't want that, okay? And typically with a sequel that doesn't perform very well, that doesn't get added on to until 12 years later, in entertainment today, we say the audience likely forgot and moved on. They got older. Nobody's looking to follow up that story. Nobody cares what happened. Throw it out the fucking window. Do not follow it up. It's reboot season. Reboot the fucking thing. Just call it Sly Cooper. Fuck it. You think about how perfect Sly Cooper is for a reboot, actually. Every installment starts with him re-explaining his origin story. Now, I don't mean remake the first one. Remaking a video game is crazy to me. Ratchet & Clank did a Hollywood movie-style reboot on the PS4. No need for that. But just come up with a new story, have Sly Cooper re-explain his origins in the beginning of it like he always does, get on to a new adventure. And for God's sake, make it a slick, noir, comic book inspired, stealthy thriller. That's what Sly Cooper is. He's not a goofball. He doesn't fight villains whose number one priority is big lollipops. Come on, y'all. This is your chance to do it right. I volunteer my time. I am not joking. I am not just a radicalized person on the internet. I live and breathe Sly Cooper. Do you guys sneaky devil games? I also serve God, not the devil. Sneaky devil. Y'all is some sneaky devils. I will write a treatment because I will spend 12 months trying to get inside the head and motivation of Sly Cooper and every one of these characters and everything that means something to these characters in this world in real stakes. Will you guys? I'm being so serious. What do you have to lose? And with that, I want to give a story, and then I'll be out, and then I want to hear everything you guys have to say in the comments. If you don't know me, my name is Kevin Save-A-Hoe. They call me Jimmy in the gaming circuit because I'm the only muscular cat they ever seen that plays video games. They find it really bizarre. They're like, how can two things exist at once? I'm going to link every one of my Sly Cooper videos in the description. Check out all of them. I'm a passionate fan of the series. Y'all remember the first Punisher. Technically, it's not the first Punisher. I guess Dolph Lundgren played the Punisher, but he didn't even have the skull on his chest. It was weird. That was in the 80s. He never seemed right to play the Punisher. You picture that blonde, tall man with dark hair for the Punisher? Strange. Okay, but before comic book movies got ruined and sensationalized, the first time we saw certain comic book characters in live-action feature films in the early 2000s, I think this is when Marvel was owned by Fox, and everything was great and nothing was dumb. Thomas Jane played the Punisher. They asked Thomas Jane recently, why didn't you ever play the Punisher a second time? He goes, funny story. Per the way the entertainment industry gets down, I got up with Walter Hill, the director of The Warriors. He also did Bullet to the Head. That's a Stallone movie nobody really liked, but I mean, it at least stylistically was Walter Hill. That's a cat who deals in like back alley crime genre type films. And he was like, Walter Hill had a concept for the Punisher. Everything about Walter Hill says he can tell a Punisher story. We came up with a great story. We brought it to the studio. He's like, I got Walter Hill to do the next Punisher, and I'm going to star in it. And the studio goes, no. We have a director for the next Punisher. Walter Hill and Thomas Jane looked at who they chose to direct the next Punisher, and they were like, nothing about his style or his filmography says he understands the Punisher universe, says that he understands that kind of film. And they're like, yeah, we're going with him. Nobody cares. In entertainment, just nobody cares. If Sanzaru has a concept, that's our concept. And we're just going to do it. We'll just do it. And Kevin Miller seems like such a sweetheart. Thanks for all the years of playing Sly Cooper. I mean, no offense. But it seems like he'll just go with it. Like, you just look at the script and go, wow, this doesn't make a lick of sense. Put me in the booth. Why? Why does this have to happen? This character means everything to me. He probably means more to me than he means to you and all the fans. You guys have a responsibility to take us away from our dreadful lives momentarily to enjoy Sly Cooper, not to enjoy a fucking goofball who's supposed to be Sly Cooper, which is how he was portrayed in Thieves in Time. From the first go around, we saw a very similar situation to that story I just told. A company that just doesn't really seem to get Sly Cooper, and they're doing it. Will you guys do it again? Or will you sit your asses down in front of Sly 1 and 2 for 12 months and say to yourselves, we need to follow up and recreate the essence of this in order to serve the people this piece of entertainment and this story and this game is for? Guys, if you need help, call me. Writing a character, writing a story is not about just doing whatever the fuck you want. This is why I don't let anybody critique my film work except people that critique in this fashion. Someone who knows how to bring a story together will look at one of my scripts and go, don't do that. And I'll go, why? And he'll go, based on what you wrote in Act 1 and 2, the character would never do that in Act 3. That's a person that can edit my story. You know what most people do? Who say, oh, you got to be able to take criticism. They'll look at it and go, I just think we should put an alien in the third act. Like, yeah, I guess they should go back in time, too. You know what? Fuck it. We'll just put the character in Egypt.